ESPN facing backlash for Caitlin Clark post during WNBA playoff debut. The Indiana Fever's first-round playoff matchup with the Connecticut Sun last Sunday was one of the most highly anticipated games in WNBA history. This is much thanks it being the WNBA playoff debut for the Fever's star rookie Caitlin Clark, who has been breaking viewership and attendance records all season. That said, the game didn't go exactly as Clark and the Fever hoped it would. Indiana lost to Connecticut 93-69 after a questionable performance by the refs, as a lot of fans were vocal about their frustration with the officiating. Regardless, Clark had a solid outing despite struggling early, finishing with 11 points. Though these aren't the numbers she typically puts up, it was her playoff debut in her rookie season, so expectations can't be too high. Her first playoff points scored will likely be the first of many, making it a very celebratory occasion. ESPN was quick to post her incredible achievement, but they have since been under fire after choosing to include a rough sequence before showing her score. 8 assists and 4 rebounds. ESPN's post was captioned, "First playoff points for Caitlin Clark after a hectic sequence," which this fan thinks could have been avoided and more focused on the points. Waiting all season to see this achievement from Clark, it's very weird that they would dilute the moment with unnecessary footage of a rough series of events. Regardless of the reasoning, it's unfortunate that the post was put together in that manner, as this is an accomplishment Clark should be celebrating for a very long time. Caitlin Clark needs a better game plan. 3 things Fever coach Christy Sides must do in Game 2 versus Sun. The Fever dropped Game 1 of their playoff series against the Sun in disappointing fashion, getting blown out 93-69. Indiana obviously needs to play much better to stand a chance in the best-of-3 series, and it starts with shooting higher than 21.4% from 3. More than the adjustment of simply making more shots, there are a couple of things that head coach Christy Sides and company can do to make life easier for Caitlin Clark. Clark recorded 8 assists but had just 11 points on 4 of 17 shooting, including 2 of 13 from 3. Clark will shoot better in Game 2, but the Fever need to do a better job as a team of alleviating the suffocating pressure that she faced from the Suns' #1 ranked defense. Here are 3 things that can help change the outcome of Game 2. The Sun did a good job of mixing up defensive coverages on Clark, changing up both who was defending her and the scheme used against her throughout the game. Their most effective strategy came in the third quarter when the game started to slip away. The Sun ramped up the pressure on Clark during that period, sending 2 defenders at her more often. Clark's teammates weren't in a good position to catch the ball, leading to numerous sloppy possessions. Clark and the Fever could try taking a page out of Golden State's playbook when she faces this type of pressure. Rather than using an awkward angle to force a pass into Aaliyah Boston, they can bring Kelsey Mitchell higher up the floor and use her as a release value. This technique is called shorting the roll, which Warriors coach Steve Kerr has employed successfully when Stephen Curry faces this same type of pressure. Nalissa Smith was largely ineffective as a starter, going scoreless in Game 1. To her credit, Sides realized this early and limited Smith to just 9 minutes in the game. Sides may want to consider starting Damaris Dantas in Game 2, who is a much better 3-point shooter than Smith. Dantas hit 2 of 3 from deep in Game 1 and has nailed 39.4% of her threes for the season compared to just 29.2% for Smith. Donna's shooting opens up the floor considerably for Clark and others. When she and Clark played on the floor together during the regular season, the Fever were outstanding, outscoring opponents by 9.4 points per 100 possessions. When Clark played without Dantas, the Fever were outscored by 4.0 points per 100 possessions. The Fever saw the reverse effect with Smith, getting killed in the minutes that she and Clark played together during the regular season and playing much better with Smith on the bench. Smith might need to see her minutes reduced to 0 in Game 2. The Fever are at their best when they are running the ball. They had by far the best offense after the All-Star break by using that strategy. Yet it was the Sun who maintained an 18-9 advantage in fast break points in Game 1. The Fever's transition attack was stymied in part by poor rebounding. The Sun had 6 offensive rebounds in the first quarter and 8 for the game. The Sun also made 49.3% of their shots, forcing the Fever to inbound the ball from their own basket. Forcing more misses and grabbing more defensive rebounds will naturally lead to easier runouts. So will creating more turnovers. The Sun had just 10, which is 3.3 below their season average. The easiest adjustment is to simply run the floor harder. Clark is the most brilliant transition passer in the game. Anytime her teammates beat their defender down the floor, she will find them.